Figure I should probably preface this episode with a bit of a content warning, I guess. This month had a lot of ups and downs for me. The downs were really down, and the ups, okay. All in all, it's kind of hard to quantify this month. However, I'll still go over the major events that happened this month. So right away this month hit me like a freight train. The very 1st of June, I was part of this one Discord support group where all members of the alphabet soup were welcome, and it was only meant for people that were in that particular community. There were a few times before that they brought up politics. And, I just don't like to talk politics. It's the only subject I know of where both sides can be in complete agreement and still want to kill each other afterwards. I was rather hopeful for this server because there was a whole section devoted to talking about politics, and I didn't think there was going to be a lot of bleed over. Well, there was a particular political thing going around. I'd rather not give the details because I don't want a similar fire to start in the comment sections. Rest assured, this was something that kind of went in and out, and I just kind of let it go. But there was 2 particular posts that rocked me right to my core. I just had to say something. The first one, I just simply asked that such a thing would be put under the whole content warning list. They never censored it. And then a very similar thing started at the very beginning of the month, and I was a little more impatient this time because they didn't censor the first one, and so I just simply asked that they censor this next one. Well, a good chunk of the server thought that me wanting to censor it was my way of saying, no, you're wrong, and I am right, and I am always right, so instead of not talking about it like I kept asking that they wouldn't, they kept trying to disprove me. And the whole time I'm just like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. How many times do I have to say this? It seemed like we came to an understanding because afterwards they're just kind of like, okay, what else do you want us to add to the do not talk about list? This I really had to think about because usually whenever I say I don't want to discuss politics, everybody already knows the list already, but I guess there they wanted more specifics. So I gave it to them. And every single item on that list, they ridiculed me something fierce for. In realizing that they just needed to get the fight out of their system, I just figured I'd let them argue amongst themselves and then come back in an hour when things have cooled down. Well, it took about 20 minutes before I got one last message directed to me. I never got a chance to read it because I figured it was something along the lines of, you inhuman curse word, how dare you pollute our server with your contrarian beliefs. We only believe in one rule here and you slightly deviate, so we're kicking you out. At least that's what I would wager it was going to say, so I didn't read it. And then, a minute later, I was completely kicked out of the server, unable to explain myself. At first, shock, which turned to anger, which then just turned into a waterfall of immense tears. In fact, even I'm starting to feel a little bit coming back. But at the same time, I think I handled this situation pretty well. I didn't bottle up my emotions. I was able to talk to a really good friend of mine, and I basically just bawled my eyes out for the next 20 minutes. And, well, for the most part, I felt a lot better after it. But then I think of all the fun times I did have on that server. In fact, I remember there was one person I was going to have a deep philosophical debate with, and I was very much looking forward to that. And plus, it was also nice just to be able to talk about the trans experience with other people that have been there. Maybe even if I just feel pretty one day, I'll just post a picture or something and just all of a sudden have this shower of love and acceptance. And if something doesn't feel right, I can say, have you been on this particular hormone regimen? And they say, oh yeah, that's perfectly normal. All that completely gone. So rest assured, that kept me in kind of a foul mood for the first week or so of the month. However, my spirits kind of raised up a little bit in the idea that there was this big flea market happening not too far away from my house. This was something I always looked forward to, and it was nice that it was earlier in the year, and because it's on a Saturday, I just went for it. I found a few little fun things here and there. There was a particular board game I found that I was really interested in. In fact, it was even wrapped in cellophane, but I thought $30 was a little too steep for it. When I asked the guy running the stand about it, he said, "Oh yeah, this thing could easily go for like 120 on eBay." Then and there I realized my offer of $15 was not going to work. In that particular area of the flea market, I had a little bit of another upset. I was looking at this one Atari console. It had basically everything, and I was curious to see what they were selling it for. When this little kid, probably no more than 8 years old, was looking at me and said, "So how much is this, sir?" I was just so utterly shocked by this because I thought I dressed partially feminine that day and thought I was a bit more obvious than that. So then when the kid asked me again, "Sir, are you there?" I was just kind of like, this is not my stand. It was just a little kid, so I didn't really feel good about chewing him out, but it hurts. And that's the thing about kids, they're brutally honest, and if a kid saw me still as a man, then a lot of other people must have still saw me as a man too. And what was rather interesting is I was going around to several of these stands. I bumped into this one person that I highly suspected of being a trans woman. They looked very feminine, but they had a very deep voice. To me, they felt very obvious. Then again, I'm also part of that sorority, so maybe I have a better eye for this thing. Just kind of slowly pass by them every so often. Until lunchtime, when they have all these food trucks set up for everyone to be able to eat and maybe even spend all day there. So, they were at the table and I politely asked, "Do you mind if I sit here?" And they said, "Yeah, sure." So I took a seat and already I could tell they were a little off, and after kind of my disenchantment of that one server, I kind of wondered if there was anybody that was partially normal that was also trans. But the thing that got me is, well, she came out to me as a trans woman. And then I told her the same thing, to which she said, "I would have never guessed." That hurt like a knife. I thought I was making some really good progress. I was wearing pink shorts. I was wearing a bra to make my chest puff out a little bit. Even a little makeup, and I had my hair done up right, and I still look like a man even to the experts. Yeah, that kind of left me in quite a dour mood. There was one good thing that came out of it, though. Had to use the restroom while I was there, and at this point, I'm just kind of like, who cares? I'm just going to use the women's room. And, yeah, there was no, like, patrol agent or somebody that was going to check my femininity. I just went in there, a few people saw me, and they're just kind of like, just use the bathroom, wash my hands, and I was out the door. As you could tell, I was definitely in quite sour moods most of this month. However, there was one pretty good thing that came out of it. I'm also part of this other server that's all about trying to get a good feminine voice or masculine voice, depending on your preference. There, occasionally we have these little sessions where we like get together and talk, just kind of getting a little practice in with the voice in a more relaxing environment, something like that. I'd have to check the search history because I'm still not really sure how this happened, but I found this one girl. She was very sympathetic. We got to talking, and I kind of told her the idea that I'm not really trusting of people right now. I've been very much hurt this month. To which she just kind of said, "All right, well, we can just sit and talk if you want." So we talked a fair bit, and I found out that both of us had very similar demons that we were hiding. In fact, it was a breath of fresh air to be able to talk about what my political views were, and she shared them to a T. In fact, there were even some darker elements that we both had very similar ones, and it didn't come off as like disturbing or cringy. It was more like talking to a very good friend. And as we were talking with each other, she then threw out, hey, you want to be in a more serious romantic relationship? And I'm just kind of like, I've never been in one of those before. Why not? And every day we've just kind of been talking to each other. If nothing else, just little things like, so honey, how was your day? You doing good, sweetie? You have like little pet names for each other, and I love it. I'm starting to see why there's so many love songs now because, well, this is nice. I've never really, well, I have been in love, but I guess this is the first time I've ever been in love with somebody that's also loved me back. In a more romantic way, of course. There was one person I was in love with, but they just wanted to remain good friends, and so we have. But the thing I'll never forget is one time we were having one of these little voice practice sessions, and it was just kind of funny. She paused partway in her conversation, and I'm like, you want me to help you find the words? And she just said, no, it's all right. Beautiful women distract me. I just melted. I like feeling cute like this. It helps fill me up with this like warmth I haven't really experienced in a while. True, there are a few people that I've received hugs from where I got that same warm feeling. However, even that's kind of soured a little bit because one of those people I've received fantastic hugs from was also on this server. In fact, I was introduced to that server when I met a few of their friends at their birthday party. And so it's very unlikely that they'll ever want to see me again, because I'm sure they probably told them what happened, putting their own little spin on it to make me seem like the worst Satan spawn ever when I just share slightly different beliefs. And on top of that, it kind of seems weird that such support groups would be so close-minded, because oftentimes they would often go off about particular groups that wanted to do them harm, take away their rights, all this other stuff, simply because of the way they were. And so they reverse it by attacking the other group, saying they're the worst thing to happen to the human species since the bubonic plague. I thought you were all about love and acceptance? What's going on here? That's about as far as I want to get into it. I'm worried if I reveal much more than that, then a fire is surely going to blaze. Well, the only other minor thing to mention is that my allergies, for some reason, have just gotten completely out of control. I was so stuffed up right here that this ear was just constantly ringing, which brought about these dizzy and lightheaded spells. And I was worried that it was the Spiro taking its revenge again. Very similar to how I felt when I first started HRT within the first month or two. Luckily, it was able to go away on its own, but it's just one of those things you don't expect to just kind of be sitting there and then all of a sudden go. I know I talked to doctors and a lot of other people about it, and it's just like, yeah, make sure you're getting enough salt, sugar, and water. I'm pretty sure I'm getting plenty of those because I like to have mints when my mouth is dry. I pretty much drink only water. And there's a lot of salty foods that I like. But luckily I was able to go away on its own, so there was no problem there. I think that's about it. If there's anything you would like to talk about, if there's any questions you have, feel free to leave a comment. I could be a little less censored down there. But just know, especially after that incident with the Discord server, I am not talking about politics. So, till next time, be yourself, no matter who that is.